Hello friends, my name is Rohit Bansal. Today in this lecture we will discuss about a real world protocol known as Kerberos. This is also known as Network Authentication Protocol. It is used across many enterprise applications in the world. So, we will see how this Kerberos protocol works. Now, in Kerberos protocol or in the enterprise application, there are three important requirements. Number one, the authentication server that basically checks who is requesting for the service and verifies that the other party is someone you also want to talk to. So, when a user requests for a service from that enterprise, the authentication server verifies it. Point number two, a key agreement that the key will be shared between the communicating parties. There are different communicating parties in a particular enterprise application. So, how a secret common session key is going to be shared, it comes in the key agreement. Point number three, encrypted data exchange. Here, using that common secret session key, the communicating parties will be exchanging message in a confidential manner. If you look at different communicating parties involved in the Kerberos enterprise setup or the Kerberos protocol we call it, there are four entities. Number one, key distribution center. Number two, ticket granting server. Number three, user and client. Number four, service provided by the different servers. Let us talk about the first one, the key distribution center. The key distribution center or the authentication server and the key granting server reside in the same system, but their responsibilities and tasks are very different. It is always predefined that who is going to act where. The client is a person who requests for a service and the server is someone who provides the service after verifying the client's request with the help of key distribution center or the ticketing granting server. Now, let us talk about how basically we have two credentials which are used in Kerberos protocol. One is ticketing, one is the ticket and the other one is the authenticator. The ticket is a credential issued by a KDC or a ticket granting server to a client for his request. The authenticator is someone who proves that the client knows the session key. So, after seeing the authenticator, the recipient believes that the client knows the session key. In this way, using these two credentials, the ticket and the authenticator, the Kerberos protocol will achieve the intended security objective. Now, there are three phases. The first phase is between the client and the key distribution center. The second phase is between the client and the ticketing granting server. And the third phase is between the client and the actual server from where the service is obtained. In the first phase, the client basically gets a ticket from the key distribution center through which he can talk to the ticket granting server. In the second phase, the client gets a ticket from the ticket granting server through which he can talk to the application server. In the third phase, the client submits the ticket to the application server and then he will seek the accessing resource or the service from the server. Now, let us see in phase 1, we will see in the detail in which there is a communication between the client and the KDC. KDC is the key distribution center. So, here the client submits a request to KDC that he is the user of the enterprise. So, he should be given a ticket by which he can talk to the application server. Then the request and the client's identity information goes to KDC in a plain form without any encryption. The client password is retained in the client's local system. After seeing the request, the KDC checks whether the client is a registered user or not. If he is a registered user, then the KDC computes a ticket and a message. So, two messages are generated here. One of them is intended for the client only and the other one is intended for the ticket granting server. And these two messages are communicated in an encrypted form. So, there are two envelopes that are sent from KDC to the client. The client can decrypt only one of them and he forwards the other one to the ticket granting server. the envelope or the encrypted message that the client is going to decrypt is encrypted using the client secret key, which is also available at the key distribution center. Using a secret key, that client can decrypt one envelope. After decrypting it, the client gets a session key, which is made only for the communication between the client and the ticket granting server, and it is known only to these two parties or these two entities. The other protocol contains a ticket that is encrypted by ticket granting server. The client cannot do anything here, so he just forward the ticket to the ticket granting server in phase 2. So, if you look at the phase 2, you can see that the client forwards an envelope which he got from the KDC, and then there is a authentication that the client knows the session key. The authenticator is encrypted with the session key, which is shared between the client and the ticket granting server. It has the information about the client, the timestamp, and some of the other information which is encrypted with the session key. After receiving this message, the ticket granting server performs the decryption operation. So, the ticket granting operation first decrypt the envelope which has come from the KDC, and after that it gets the session key which is shared between the client and the ticket granting server, and using that session key, the ticket granting server can further decrypt that authenticator, and then it can see whether that authenticator has all the information which is also listed in the ticket or the first envelope. So, the ticket granting server accepts the request, and after that, just like KDC, it also generates two envelopes, one of which is for the client and the other one is for the application server. The first envelope basically contains a session key which is used between the client and the application server. The other envelope contains the information about the client which is encrypted with the application server secret key, which is available to the ticket granting server. After that, the ticket granting server forwards that message to the client, who can decrypt one envelope, and after that he gets to know the session key between the client and the application server. When he forwards the other envelope to the application server, and then he forwards the other envelope to the application server. In the third phase, the client forwards the envelope which he has gotten from the ticket granting server. The other envelope is basically the authenticator which proves that the client knows the session key which is shared between him and the server. Now, the server decrypts these two envelopes, gets to know which these two sessions keys, and which it can prove that the authenticator is correct, and then it provides some other keys to the client, and then client can start accessing service and the resources from the application server. So, basically this is an overview of the Kerberos protocol, which is widely used in many enterprise applications across the world. Here we can see how that application server can get user credential verified by authentication server or KDC, and how it can further verify whether the user request is fresh or not by seeing the ticket issued by the ticket granting server before providing service or before giving access to its resources. So, when we put a request for any service from the target application server, before we can start accessing the resource or the service, all these three phases are executed one after another, which includes the key distribution center, the ticket granting server, and the application server. In practice, when the application server provides the service to a client, we may not see any delay in the process. When we put up a request, we can start accessing the service or the resources immediately, but in the background, before we start accessing the service, all these operations of encryption, decryption, verification and communication are being executed at various points. After that only, we can use services offered by different application servers. So, in summary, the enterprise application with Kerberos protocol can use symmetric key encryption, or it can also use public key encryption. It is totally up to the application service provider to decide that which one of them should be used. The important thing for us to note that here is there are multiple users and multiple servers in the Kerberos setup, and the target objective is that the user should be able to use the service offered by the enterprise. There is one more important entity, which is authentication server. It regulates the validity of credential, the authenticity of the user, and permit the user request to the application server, so that the user can avail the service offered by them after verifying or checking the authenticity as well as the validation of the user's credential. Although the Kerberos protocol has found huge success in enterprise applications, it has a couple of limitations as well. The first limitation is a single point of failure. Since the KDC checks the authenticity of the user, so if the KDC is down, then all the services in the Kerberos protocol or in the enterprise application will stop functioning. So, KDC must be available always in the enterprise application where Kerberos protocol is deployed. The second limitation is the time synchronization. The Kerberos protocol works in a single domain. So, all the servers and the entities who are involved in the Kerberos protocol, their clocks must be synchronized, because the issuance time is mentioned in the ticket and it is valid for a particular duration. It could be 4 hours, 8 hours, and so on and so forth. So, both the receiver as well as the sender must have their clocks synchronized. So, time synchronization of all the servers in the Kerberos protocol is a must. Otherwise, there could be problems, like some ticket might be accepted by mistake even though it is expired. Another important thing in Kerberos protocol that can be is that it can be operated by a single sign in. In most of the enterprise application, a user may sign in only once, and after that the service can be availed from a different servers. So, in the context, the user may not be able to require to log in into different servers with different credentials. He can log in with one credential, and once he logs in, he is allowed to access all the services which he has got the privilege to access. Kerberos is a very successful protocol which has found applications in most of the enterprise areas. However, protocol works in closed environment in a single domain. If someone wants to avail services from multiple domains, then there is a concept which is known as cross Kerberos protocol. It is basically a protocol which connects multiple domains. In this, a user from one domain can be allowed to access services from other domains. So, in that context, cross Kerberos protocol plays a very important role. Another important point to be noted here is that the KDC is responsible to manage all users' password identity, whereas the ticket granting server is responsible to manage all secret keys of the server deployed in that particular enterprise application. So, KDC and ticket granting server, we can call that as a TGS, basically manage users' credential and server credentials respectively. Both of them must be available in order to provide services from the enterprise to different users. If either of them is down, then the protocol or that enterprise application will not be able to provide the intended service. So, there are two important limitations. One is single point of failure, and the other is time synchronization of all the servers deployed in the domain for that enterprise application. So, that was all about the Kerberos protocol which was used in the enterprise applications. Now, let us discuss about the security aspect in the e-commerce application and in the web based application in general. As you know, HTTPS enabled applications and web services are very commonly used nowadays. Transport layer security, or we call that as a TLS, is the underlying security protocol for the HTTPS enabled applications. It is the most commonly deployed protocol for security applications ranging from enterprise to e-commerce applications. For example, if you want to buy a book from a bookshop.com, So, you will go to the website, you will select a book there. After you have made your selection, you will make the payment. If the payment is successful, then bookshop.com will send you the book to your given address. This is a whole working logic. Now, let us see what is happening here technically. So, when you want to buy a book from bookshop.com, first of all you have to be sure that you are communicating with the authentic server of bookshop.com. For that, you have to check authentication of the server, which is your prime responsibility. Once the authentication is done, then the client and the server will establish a common secret by which the payment process and other sensitive information will get exchanged between them. For example, when you are making a payment for the book using your credit card, the credit card information must be protected from unauthorized parties. So, confidentiality and integrity must also be there. Then another important thing is that since a lot of people would be buying books and making payments for them, so here the bookshop.com may not care who you are, or they may not check the client's authenticity. So, the authentication may not be mutual. It is one of those cases in which server authentication is a must, but the client authentication may or may not be required. It completely depends on what kind of application is in place, where the TLS or transport layer security is providing security objective or security service. In this scenario, we can see that the client will initiate the communication with the server. So, both of them must agree on a certain parameters or on certain cryptographic algorithm, which will be used for subsequent message exchange. Peer negotiation is one of the objective, where the client and the server will agree that this is the set of protocols and this is the set of algorithm which will be going to deploy for this session. After that, the server authentication will be done using the server's public key certificate. Once server authentication is done by the client will accept the server's public key, using which he can encrypt one random secret message which will go to the server. The server will decrypt that, and then the client and the server will establish a common secret. So, a key exchange or establishing common secret is done using public key encryption algorithm. Once the key is exchanged between the client and the server, they can continue with subsequent messages, and that communication will be protected from unauthorized parties. Here, symmetric key based traffic encryption with the help of an established session key or an established common key will make the message exchange confidential. Now, if you look at the TLS working logic, first of all the client will submit a set of algorithm and then other parameters. After that, the server will select a list of parameters or algorithms and it will provide its public key to the client. Now, the client will verify the server's public key, and if it is found to be valid, then the server's authentication is done. After that, the client will select one secret, he will encrypt it using the server's public key and then return it to the server. The server will decrypt it and learn the common secret. After that, they can exchange subsequent message in a confidential manner. The TLS, which is underlying security protocol for HTTPS enabled applications, consists of 4 sub protocols. The first and the most important protocol for TLS is TLS handshake protocol. In this, the client and the server will establish a common secret and the client will ensure server authentication. After that, the handshake protocol will be concluded successfully by invoking TLS change cipher specification protocol. This will also indicate that the handshake protocol is successfully executed. Once the handshake protocol is successfully executed, then record protocol will be invoked. The TLS record protocol will ensure traffic confidentiality. The message exchange between the client and the server will be confidential. it will be protected by symmetric key encryption algorithm. In between the handshake protocol and the record protocol, if any error occurs, then a warning will be displayed by invoking TLS alert protocol. In TLS protocol, there are 4 phases. The first phase is from client to the server. For example, the client will say hello and provide a list of algorithm and other parameters. Then in the phase 2, the server will select some common algorithm and it will provide server public key certificate to the client. Then in phase 3, the client will verify the server public key certificate to check server authentication. After that, he will encrypt one secret using server public key and then will go back to the server. Now, the server will decrypt that encrypted key and it will know the common secret. In this way, key exchange is done between the server and the client, since they have established a common secret, which is subsequent by which the subsequent message will be protected. In the 4th phase, it is notified that the handshake protocol is over. The server will say that my handshake protocol is done. It is done by invoking chain cipher specification protocol. Then the record protocol will be invoked, which will provide message confidentiality between the client and the server. Another important thing to be noted here is that the client or the user should check the advanced feature of the browser. It is very important. It will basically provide a list of features which have been set by default, can be changed manually. They will also tell the user that which feature have been active and which features have not been active. So, the user should check the browser's advanced feature and that which protocol version of TLS or SSL is enabled. If older versions are enabled, then one must uncheck them and check the latest version. For example, TLS 1.2 or SSL 3.0 must be checked. Now, let us move towards e-commerce application security. In an e-commerce application, 4 parties are involved: the customer, the merchant bank acquirer and the customer's bank insurer. Among these 4 parties, all the messages are going to be forwarded and validated. In an e-commerce application, there are following primary security requirements. Number 1, authentication of all parties involved in the transaction. Number 2, confidentiality of messages moving from one party to another. Number 3, message integrity. Number 4, non-repetition of payment information. Number 5, linkage between product and payment, so that if there are any conflict or issues regarding the transaction, then they can be resolved easily. Now, let us see the working logic of an e-commerce application. First of all, the client initiates the communication by going to the merchant website and selecting a product. After that, he makes a payment. The merchant forwards that payment to the merchant bank acquirer. The acquirer again forward the same payment to the card issuer or the customer bank, which we see at the payment gateway. Now, here the customer bank will check whether the account has sufficient balance, the card is valid or not, etc. So, few validations are done from the customer bank side. If everything is found to be okay, then customer bank will approve that payment. Then the acquirer or merchant bank will again forward the information to the merchant by capturing the transaction details. And finally, the merchant will tell the customer that your order is confirmed and your item will be delivered to the given address. So, this is the working logic of an e-commerce application, or you can say it is a working principle of an e-commerce application. Now, let us see the security aspect which is involved in this whole e-commerce application. It involves authentication of all involved parties like the merchant's bank, the customer bank and the intended recipient. Then there should be confidentiality of messages. There are different messages that may be confidential for some parties who are involved. So, confidentiality of messages should be confirmed. Then there should be integrity of the transaction and the messages. They should not be altered by any intermediary during this whole process. So, integrity of messages should be ensured. Then non-repetition of transaction and messages or information delivered must be confirmed. In this, the person or the parties involved in any kind of action should not deny about it. For example, if a payment is made to a merchant, then he should not deny receiving it. If an order is delivered to the customer, then customer should not be denied to accept it. Then there should be a linkage between the product and the payment. In this, the product information and the payment information must be linked together. For example, if a customer is buying a book and for that he is making a payment, then the payment must be linked to that particular book only. It should not be linked to some other item like any other electronic gadget or garment, etc. So, the payment information must be linked with the appropriate products information. This is very important. Now, to summarize this whole process, we discussed about the transport security, transport layer security, which is TLS for HTTPS enabled applications. Today, the TLS protocol is playing a very pivotal role for the securing several applications like e-commerce application, enterprise application and other web based applications. All HTTPS enabled applications are basically supported by TLS protocol, which is providing intended security requirements for that application, particularly in e-commerce applications. In such applications, we need confidentiality of messages, authentication of involved parties, integrity of information and messages, non-repetition of action and a linkage between the product information and the payment information. So, all these security properties like authentication, integrity, confidentiality, non-repetition and of course, key establishment along with the linkage between the product information and the payment information can be fulfilled by the transport layer security protocol. The TLS has found enormous use in various applications today. It is not just for e-commerce applications, it has got wide variety of uses across many applications. You can see that TLS or HTTP is playing an important role in most of the web based applications. It could be enterprise application as well. It could be a simple web application or it could be an e-commerce application. So, any application where we need all these security requirements of authentication, confidentiality, integrity, non-repetition or linkage, we can think of implementing the TLS protocol or we can make these application HTTPS enabled. Or if in a particular application we need only a subset of these security requirements like authentication, integrity, confidentiality, then also we can use the transport layer security for achieving the security objective for that particular application. I hope it makes clear to you.